Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the King's Gambit. Now, this opening is not played very often anymore because the Queen's Gambit is a bit stronger than the King's Gambit. Because the King's Gambit kind of weakens your own king. But there are some very good strategies that evolve from this opening. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so King's Gambit. Basically, you're gambiting your f pawn as white. So it starts with e4, and then e5, and then it has f4. And so white is basically immediately placing pressure on this e pawn for black. And so the thing is, if black takes, then white, he could move to d4. So like if black takes the f4 pawn, white basically gains the majority of central pawns, which he can then use to attack black more easily, even though white's king is kind of in a bad position. So taking on f4, and then let's say white, he just does this, right? Or like d3, that also works. So maybe he does this to place pressure on black's f4 pawn, and black, he could try to hold on to his extra pawn with g7 to g5, and so he kind of gains kingside space, but it also kind of wastes time and kind of weakens black's king, because afterwards, white could just move here, develop normally, and it's kind of bad for black if he takes, because now white kind of owns the center, while black, he just only has the king side space, and white, he could just castle on the queen side. So in general, king side space is weaker than central space most of the times. And so second variation of this, black, he could strike back with the center with d5. Kind of it's like a gambit. So white has a gambit, but then black kind of counter gambits, if you know what I mean. It's kind of black is then offering up his pawn instead of taking white's gambit. So in this case, black gives up the pawn to get the initiative. So it could be f takes e5, or it could be e takes d5, and so if he takes here, then I think that would be slightly worse for white than taking on e5, because you kind of lose a central pawn here. So this might be a possible move, and then black, he could just develop normally, because or he could just let the gambit slide. So he could take back on e4, or he could just develop normally, placing pressure on e5. Because so you know how gambits, they kind of are you're giving up a pawn. Most times you don't have to take immediately. So black, he doesn't have to take e4 immediately. He could just do this first, and if white takes, then black could just take this pawn, and black is kind of ahead in development, kind of. Yeah, it could be annoying for black if white does this, but it's black kind of has a little advantage. White's king is pretty exposed, and so that won't really be good for it. Now the third variation, uh, basically, so let's say after these moves, bishop c5, right? That's a possible move. Uh, Basically targeting this knight um, on g1, and basically once the bishop on f1 and the knight on g1 go away, like white cannot castle kingside. So knight f3, keeping pressure on e5. But like thing is, so like white loses after f takes e5 though, because like after f takes e5, black, he could move his queen to uh, h4, and basically it will check the king and target the e4 pawn, and so that won't really be good for white. So d6, kind of like protecting the pawn, and so it kind of like it's just basic development for black. He doesn't really care about the gambit over here. And then white's plans from here, it's like usually trying to create a big center. So c3 is one of them, right? Kind of like after c3, let's say I don't know, like maybe knight moves somewhere here, and then after that, then white, he could play d4. But the thing is, like, now white cannot develop his knight to c3, which is okay. He could still develop it to d2 after this pawn moves up. And then, like, white, he has a very, very good center. Black, I mean, he's not that bad. Like, he moves his bishop away. But the thing is, like, white's center might be very annoying for black. Yeah, black has, like, what, two developed pieces. White has one. But white's center probably, like, compensates for that. Now, another way that white could kind of, like, counter this is to play bishop c4. And so basically, white kind of, like, wants to get rid of this c5 bishop because it's kind of looking into white's territory, like, unchallenged. And if you're playing as white, you kind of want to castle, right? But, like, then there's this annoying c5 bishop that's just sitting there and just, like, watching that space. So let's say, I don't know, black, he plays, like, knight to e7, and then after that, white plays d3, basically strengthening the center. And then let's say black, he castles, and then basically now you want to move your knight b1 to knight c3, and basically you want to follow up with knight e4, and then you could take the bishop. So let's say I don't know, like, black, he plays this move trying to, like, further strengthen the center, his control over the center. And then now white, he could play this move. And now black, he really doesn't have anywhere to go with his bishop, anywhere safe to go with his bishop. Like, he can't move back, right? The knight still takes. He can't move to, like, d4, because then the other knight could still take. And I mean, like, if he moves here, it's still the same thing. Yeah, it's check, but, like, black kind of loses tempo after white plays c3. And then so, like, black, he has to retreat, and then let's say white, he moves this up, and then I mean, yeah, black, he has this square on c7 to go. But like black kind of wastes some tempo, and white still achieved what he wanted to achieve. He wanted to get rid of that bishop eyeing the a7 to g1 diagonal, so then he could still castle. And now white has like a very good central and queenside advantage. Like white, he could probably maneuver his pieces around, like maybe knight to b2, and then once the queen moves away, then he can move knight to d1, and then up to e3, or maybe even f2. And so like that's all very strong. So that'll be about it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and learned a lot about the King's Gambit. If you guys did, leave a like, subscribe, and click that notifications bell to see more chess videos.